Hello, welcome to the fanfic Majesty. 6 Puu. 101. Emperor Yi, one more automatic. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Enel, stop for a moment. Di Yi's voice sounded suddenly. The movements of Enel's hands couldn't help but pause, and his figure flashed, appearing next to Di Yi, with a hint of doubt. Boss, what's the matter? The corner of Di Yi's mouth curled up, and he said lightly, it's a nice devil fruit. Forehead. It's really interesting to think of the ability to delay the electromagnetic gun just now. Di Yi looked at the cheering pirates, the pirate flag, and the captain surrounded by everyone. Fork West Blue Bandits. Foxy, the captain of the West Blue Thieves, Foxy, nicknamed Silver Fox, is the Paramesha Devil Fruit's ability to slow fruit. After 15 years, the reward is 24 million Baileys. Now, I don't know yet. He is good at using the cruel game DBF to annex the captain of the pirate group. There are many crew members in the pirate group, most of them are boatmen, and they also have crew members of different races. In this regard, he has his own unique set of Foxy tactics. 15 years later, he started a DBF game with the Straw Hats on Changlian Island. In the first round of the game, he used his fruit ability to win and got the boat Dr. Chopper of the Straw Hats, but lost to the Straw Hats in the second round. Zoro and Sanji of the regiment made Luffy suffer a few times in the third round of one-on-one games, but they were finally defeated by the strength of Luffy's exploding head. The pirate flag, the end is very sad. Advertisement. His slow ability is to emit slow light, and objects that come into contact with the light will be slow for 30 seconds. It is a very practical ability, but unfortunately it belongs to the kind of situation where the fruit ability is powerful and the ability is useless. When you meet a character like Foxy who likes to play tricks, the only end is to make another baby Dusty. As a pirate fan, he certainly remembers these things clearly. Behind him, Rose appeared with a reward order, and said softly, Fokker West Blue Bandits, Captain Foxy, nicknamed Silver Fox, has a reward of 15 million. After so many years, I'm really useless. Di Yi complained. Ah, Black Rose looked puzzled. Enel next to him also looked confused, not knowing what Di Yi meant. Di Yi didn't explain, and ordered lightly, come up. Yes, boss. Enel hurried to the helm. At this time, the Fokker West Blue Thieves came. Slotted head with red nose, inverted 8-character eyebrows and triangular shape, looks like a fox. The fox ear hairstyle is mistaken for a butt by Luffy, the sideburns are very thick, the hair stands upright, wearing purple fur clothes, younger than 10 years later 1 point, that's Foxy. At this time, he was laughing proudly, being admired by many subordinates, that was a proud, happy mood. Advertisement. But if you are careful, you can find that there are clearly visible beads of sweat on his forehead, and his back is even soaked in cold sweat. He had seen the power of the ball of light just now. If he hadn't sent out the slow light in time, he would probably have died. Captain, it's not good, that golden ship is coming. Suddenly a pirate shouted. Captain, rob them, a lot of gold. It's so big, it can buy billions of Baileys. Someone shouted immediately. Snapped. Foxy slapped the pirate directly on the forehead, and shouted angrily, why are you still standing there? Boatman, navigator, hurry up and run away. If there were a few more balls of light just now, and we're done. Can they blast out such a terrifying energy ball, and can a ship made of gold be something they can deal with? Moreover, there is no pirate flag hanging on the ground at all, but people with such strength can kill them with just one energy ball. At first, they were only dazzled by the golden gold. How scared. Although Foxy's strength is not high, but the deterrence among his subordinates is still quite high, immediately a group of people hurriedly sailed away. Every time Foxy plays DBF cruelly, he needs the boatman of the other party, just to improve the performance of the pirate ship, so his ship is always faster than the warship. It's just that what he encountered this time was not an ordinary sailing ship, but a mechanical ship controlled by thunder and lightning beyond the era. Not far out yet. Advertisement. Boom. Card wipe. The whole ship was nearly knocked over, and was split open from the middle by Jindy. The penetration of the Golden Emperor is like a sharp knife. How can this kind of wooden ship be as tough as a gold-built ship, and it can be torn directly? Gululu. Foxy was sweating profusely, looking at the golden ship in front of him in horror. He had expected it, and probably he was someone who could not be provoked. Too late to regret. Tread, tread. There were clear footsteps, and a shadow appeared on the bow of the golden ship. Poof. Foxy just felt his knees go limp, and knelt heavily on the deck of the boat. His face was uglier than that of his dead father. 1. Emperor. 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 The teeth trembled as if they were frozen stiff. The trembling couldn't stop at all. Advertisement. 102. A bunch of sycophants. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Di Yi's current reputation in the New World, after these days of fermenting, has a status in the minds of many pirates that is no less than that of the 4 emperors. The Marine 3 admirals lead the 12 vice admirals and tens of thousands of Marine elites. Cut down, defeated, and even Marshal Marine came out to explain it himself. In this short period of time, countless pirates have worshipped and regarded him as an emperor, that is, the emperor above the 4 emperors. As long as De takes action and completes the sailing route, he will be regarded as the One Piece by countless people. Of course, becoming the One Piece is not De's goal. The deeds of De are widely circulated: robbing the Sky Gold, Sabayati Archipelago, killing celestial dragons, fighting Buster Call, which is not shocking, and it is these things that make the pirates agree in awe. 197. Because they couldn't do these things. Foxy knew the person he had provoked, and was immediately frightened, and his little heart was in a hurry. Tremor. Shaking. The soul is drifting. It's dead, it's dead. How could such a character be provoked by a little pirate like him? Marine's highest combat power 3 Admiral. Advertisement. It is even rumored that Marine Garp and Marine Marshal also went to ask for it. After cutting down on 9 Snake Island, there were only 5 people left, and the 12 Marine elites were buried in the sea. I shudder just thinking about it. It's just a Marine Vice Admiral, and it's not something his Fokker West Blue thieves can defeat. The pirates of the Fok West Blue Bandit knew who they were colliding with, and they were so frightened that they almost lost their wits, kneeling on the ground one by one. De's reward order has been distributed over the sea. That face, no one can forget, and everyone around him is ruthless. Revolt. No kidding. I can't even hit someone with a finger. Emperor De. De couldn't help being taken aback. Unexpectedly, his title had changed again, which was a bit interesting. Because although De is a pirate, he is also the king of a country, and everything he does is earth-shattering, plus this marine controversy. The failure of the crusade instantly pushed the pirates to push De's reputation to the highest peak, and the Emperor De didn't know who said it. More pirates admired De, and at the same time became the famous 9 Snake Island. The envy of the status of the king of the daughter country. TCH, a bunch of cowards. Enel stood next to De, watching this group of spineless pirates dodge their electromagnetic guns. It was really insulting to the eyes. Well, at least I should resist like I used to be. Advertisement. HMPH, my lord, these dirty pirates dare to charge you and let Hancock turn them into stone. Boa Hancock Jr. With an uplifted face, she looked at De with autumn water in her beautiful eyes, but when she looked at the Fokker West Blue Bandits, she revealed endless disgust. That's right, the pirates who collide with the king deserve to die. The 2 girls, Biss and Triss, were basically the same as Hancock. After this battle, all the girls on 9 Snake Island now adore and love De. Their concept is willing to dedicate everything to the king. The king's will is their will, and the direction the king points is the land they conquer. Therefore, if a small pirate group dared to collide with their beloved king, of course they would die. Hearing the words of the girls, Foxy was so frightened that 7 souls lost 6 souls. This damn, killing people at the slightest disagreement, is too cruel, too cruel. It must be remedied. Emperor De. The little Foxy has seen the great emperor. The great emperor is wise and powerful, handsome, young and wealthy, brave and mighty, invincible in the world, number 1 in the universe, lonely. Lonely master, invulnerable to swords and guns, only I am the only one, Jade. Mian Langjun, the benevolent is invincible, the brave has no fear, the king is not bad, the chivalry is extraordinary, the righteousness is beyond the sky, the past and the present, unparalleled. It really makes the little admiration for the emperor is like a surging river. Absolutely. Another example. Foxy hurriedly crawled forward on his hands and knees, with a flattering smile on his face, and beads of fear on his face, racking his brains, using all the ideas he had learned all his life, come up with all the words you can think of. De's head was full of black lines. He didn't expect that Foxy was not only incompetent and spineless, but also talkative, although he was quite happy when he said it. This kind of flattering words had already been rotten in the previous life, and it sounded very cordial. If De hadn't known this guy's virtue, maybe he really thought that this guy also came from time travel. Flatterer. Enel was speechless for a long time, before uttering 3 words. He couldn't say these words, after all, he didn't seem to have any experience in this field. Looking at De's faint smile, he wondered in his heart, does the boss like these? Do you want to learn it? Advertisement. That's right, Emperor De's righteousness is Bo-Yuntian, and his skills are unrivaled. He crushed the Marine 3 admirals, destroyed the naval headquarters with his backhand, slammed the world government, and beheaded the 5 elders. Emperor De is handsome and extraordinary. He is a model for our generation, a model for learning from. De is the supreme emperor. The 4 emperors are not even worthy to carry your shoes. As soon as Foxy took the lead in flattering, all the pirates immediately started talking. Because I often flatter Foxy, each of them has become 6 in their mouths, and the more they talk, the more they have no edge, and they dare to say 0.5. Foxy, who was kneeling in front of him, was sweating coldly when he heard this, and cursed inwardly, this group of bastards, that's what they usually told him, but now they're here to steal the limelight. Shut up. Dee snapped angrily. An invisible pressure landed directly on all the members of the Fokker West Blue Bandit group. It was invisible and powerless, but it made everyone feel fear, prostrate on the ground, and tremble. Foxy groaned secretly in his heart. The hell has flattered me? These bastards. It's okay to flatter one person, but a group of flatterers is just a group of flies, which makes people's ears dirty. Enel, bring Foxy up, you can do the rest. Dee said lightly, turned and left the bow. Advertisement. 103. Fruit of Dullness. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Yes, boss. Enel grinned, his body transformed into a bolt of lightning, directly enveloping Foxy, who was lying on the ground, and returned in an instant. Immediately, the Jindy directly crushed through the middle of Foxy's pirate ship, like crushing a machine. Kakaka. The entire pirate group was directly split, turned into 2 halves, and the keel was directly broken. Ah, help, help. The exclamation and screams of the pirates sounded at the sea level. Those who were unlucky and just happened to be crushed, turned into meatloaf in an instant. But soon, there were cheers, and the gratitude and joy were still alive. Standing on the damaged ship floating on the sea level, many people wept with joy, thinking they were doomed, but they miraculously survived and escaped from the hands of Dee, who was more terrifying than the 4 emperors. They can blow for a lifetime. They were not at all unhappy that their captain had been captured. 633 Foxy, who was kneeling on the deck of Jindy, twitched violently several times. Although he knew that his crew was unreliable, he never thought that they didn't even feel sad when he was caught. He even heard happy voices from those shouts. To celebrate the capture of the captain, hold a banquet. Look up. Advertisement. Damn, why did he fail so badly as a captain? Dee is too lazy to waste time on such a small character. The slow fruit is a paramesha fruit with great potential. According to Dee's analysis, it should be a time-branched fruit that is hooked to time. The potential can be imagined. It is a super auxiliary ability fruit. In particular, this kind of fruit is very targeted, not for everyone, but for individual people. With a master's move, 1 second, or even no second, can separate life and death. With this support ability, if Garp and Sengoku come again, he can directly BJBF, kill them both. Such a fruit ability is used so wastefully, there is no one else. Dee stared into Foxy's eyes. The eternal Mangekyo in the pupils spins wildly. Distinguished heavenly gods. Dee let out a low cry in his heart, and an invisible will emanated, directly modifying Foxy's will. At that time, Zephyr needed 1 minute, but Foxy, the trash, only needed an instant, and the difference in strength was too great. If it wasn't for the devil fruit ability, it would indeed have a great effect, and Dee wouldn't be bothered to spend so much mental power to launch distinguished heavenly gods. Xing feels that his mental power is rapidly consumed, but it is much better than the previous dizziness. During this period of time, especially after fighting Garp and Sengoku, he has experienced life and death, and his potential has been stimulated, especially at the spiritual level. He has crossed a big realm. Master. At this time, there was no fear in Foxy's eyes, kneeling on the ground, bowing forward, only endless respect in his eyes. Advertisement. Well, get up. Dee responded lightly, turned around and sat on the golden dragon chair. Black Rose thoughtfully came forward to help Dee rub her temples. Her movements were gentle, which made Dee's spirit, which had been consumed a lot in an instant, could not help but slowly stretch. Yes, master. Foxy stood up and stood aside respectfully. Invisibly changing a person's will, this terrifying energy makes people shudder. This is also the reason why Dee is reluctant to continue to upgrade Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. And at this moment, there was an explosion on the sea level. This pyre. In the sky, there was the sound of electric current, as well as the piercing sound of piercing the air. The pirates who hadn't fallen into the sea looked up suspiciously, and they saw a very familiar scene. A white ball of light, with terrifying currents flashing from time to time on its surface. In an instant, his complexion became extremely pale and terrified. No. Don't. Help. I don't want to die. Ma. Advertisement. Boom. The light ball of the electromagnetic gun directly hit the sea, forming a huge field of lightning balls. In a radius of tens of meters, thunder and lightning flashed, and the electric snake twisted crazily in it, and explosions and roars could be heard from inside from time to time. Meet one by one. The person who was shocked could see the bone frame figure, screaming and wailing. Enel is not a good stubble. He destroyed the people in his hometown when he was strong, and later he was the one who ruled Sky Island. When the thunderball disappears again, the sea refills the sea area. A pile of broken charred boards and some charred corpses were left, none of them survived. In such a short time, they couldn't escape the scope of the lightning sphere at all. Some were directly baked into coke by electricity, and those near the center were directly vaporized. Standing next to DE, Foxy couldn't hide the look of fear in his eyes. It was too powerful, and his own pirate group was wiped out in an instant, making him realize how inferior he was. Distinguished heavenly gods only changes his will, not his memory. However, from the voices of his subordinates just now, he realized that his subordinates are not sincere to him. Coupled with the previous memories, it becomes clear after thinking about it. He was just lost in the flattery of his subordinates, and now he has followed his master. The color of fear dissipated slowly, leaving behind infinite excitement. Advertisement. 104. Breaking the devil fruit barrier open black lens bracket 1 more subscription close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. On the Jindy, Enel's scolding sounds can be heard from time to time in the training room. Hold on to me, if the boss entrusts you to me, then I will make you a talent. No stopping, the speed is slow, speed up. Didn't you eat? Do you need me to give you another electric shock therapy? Trash, I've never seen such a trash person, even worse than a 10-year-old kid on 9 Snake Island. Foxy was carrying a big iron body on his back, with a ferocious face, still insisting on sitting push-ups, and the sweat on the ground flowed like a stream. These days, life is literally hell. The life of 557, who was chic and had banquets at every turn, was flattering by a group of younger brothers, is completely gone. His body was extremely exhausted, and all the cells in his body were whining, but he didn't dare lie down on the ground. Advertisement. The demon who urged him, the terrifying electric snakes flowing back and forth between his fingers, he was tortured in different ways these days. I originally thought that I could become stronger, and I would be able to enjoy myself with a strong person like DE. It's a pity that imagination is beautiful, how can it be possible to become stronger without paying a price? DE didn't bother to care about him at all, and directly threw Foxy to Enel to train his physical fitness first. Even if it is demon fruit power, the body is still the capital, and the strength cannot be separated from the strength of the body. And so, Foxy's hell began. At first he thought it would be enough, but there is an end. This terrible Logia demon fruit power punishes him with electric shocks from time to time, as long as he slackens, directly electric. The screams resounded on the Jindy from time to time, and sometimes he was stunned by the electric shock, and then he was awakened by the electric shock and continued to exercise. In order to survive, he had to do his best, and he didn't dare to have distracting thoughts at all. His whole body was stretched by a string, and he dared not slacken the slightest slack, because he was afraid that if his string snapped, he would die. Advertisement. During this time, Enel discovered that he is quite talented in abusing people. He can automatically adjust the voltage and increase it a little every day. According to DE's words, he can not only maximize the pain, but also develop the potential value of people. This precise daily control makes Enel's lightning control more handy, so the punishment is more ordinary. DE also had to lament that the potential of people in this world is indeed enormous. Even though the physical fitness of the most ordinary marine fighters is not comparable, they have grown rapidly in a short period of time. The potential value is infinitely excavated and developed. Obviously, the weak also have the potential to become stronger. He doesn't want people who are useless, and turn them into useful people if they are useless. If it really doesn't work, then kill them. Drum Kingdom is a winter island located on the Grand Line, and the weather is winter all year round. Snow-capped, thick snow-capped mountains make the whole kingdom look like a fairy tale world. The magnetic drum country established on this island is a medical power. King Wapol is a munch fruit with the ability to eat anything, become a part of his body, or synthesize new things, and can also eat his own body to become thinner. The purpose of Dee's trip to the magnetic drum kingdom is to subdue him to fulfill his conjecture. Advertisement. Wapol, the king of the drum kingdom, a great medical country, and a tyrant, made some laws that benefited himself regardless of the life and death of the people. The inhumane pact of hunting doctor was created, which gradually degenerated the magnetic drum country, which was originally known as the medical power. Later, because the drum country was attacked by Blackbeard, Wapol directly abandoned the country and became a pirate with his cronies. Also due to the law made by Wapol, the bastard king of Magnetic Drum Island, there is only one doctor in the whole country, that is Dr. Guleva. In the later stage, in order to get Nami treated by the Straw Hat Luffy and Sanji took Nami to the castle where Dr. Guleva lived. Met Chopper there, and after some things happened, Luffy invited Chopper to join, but Chopper didn't agree. At the same moment, the bad King Wapol and his 2 men returned to the castle. In order to protect Dr. Silk's skull flag, Chopper bravely fought against Wapol. Since Wapol had troubled Luffy and others before, Luffy and Sanji naturally joined without hesitation, and the battle was imminent. In the end, they were beaten by Luffy and the others. Of course, these have nothing to do with DE's full 2.5. The potential value of Munch Munch fruit is very high. In Paramesha Devil Fruit, it is definitely a super bug, even surpassing many Logia fruits, but it is a pity that it was eaten by Wapol. DE also discovered that many natural fruits do turn ordinary people into strong people, but in the later stage, compared with some devil fruits that are based on rules, they are very interesting. The ability of the rules itself has surpassed ordinary concepts, and the dull fruit itself is built on the rules of time. Munch Munch fruit can even break the barriers between devil fruits and carry out fusion, even if there are limitations in itself. Advertisement. 105. Let him kneel down, second watch for a reward. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The advantages of Munch Munch fruit are many. First, it can eat anything and turn it into energy. Ton people will never starve to death. Second, Munch Munch fruit has the magical ability to turn what it eats into a part of its own body. Just imagine, if Ton swallowed ancient weapons such as Pluton and Poseidon, how terrifying would it be? Third, Munch Munch fruit has the ability to process, and can synthesize anything into something new, even including people. Just imagine, if Thunder Fruit Enel and Mera Mera Fruit Ace are combined, the combined Superman Huole Man, what a horrible concept. Only you dare to think, this world needs brain holes. Such an interesting and powerful fruit, ability is very tempting. This kind of interesting devil fruit, of course DE can't let it go. In other words, this is not a good deed invisibly, taking away a tyrant from the Drum Kingdom. What he did at this time was somewhat the same as the idea of the Revolutionary Army, which was to overthrow those fatuous and brutal kings. Entering the port of the magnetic Drum Kingdom, there is no obstacle at all. Just inquiring about it, it turns out that Wapol has already started a tyrant. However, he has been suppressed by the king's army, and he can't beat Wapol, who has the ability of devil fruit. At the same time, some king's troops have also begun to rebel, because many doctors or their family members are their saviors. The whole country is in chaos, and Wapol treats a country like a playground. And the rebel people in this country have no so-called leaders at all, and they are completely disorganized. Advertisement. DE had no scruples and went directly to Wapol's palace. Who? Stop your footsteps. There was a yelling, and the army in cotton clothes blocked the front with guns. Aim. Shoot. Looking at the king's army blocking the road ahead, Enel sneered and tapped the taiko drums on his shoulders. 60 million volts Brontosaurus. A thunder dragon made of huge thunder and lightning rushed out and roared at the king's army. Ang. The whole dragon is lifelike, with amazing momentum, the air is instantly twisted and tumbling in the air. In the horrified eyes of a group of king's soldiers, they passed through their bodies in an instant. Ah, ah, there was a shrill scream, accompanied by the image of the skeleton being exposed by the electric shock, and all those who blocked him were wiped out. Poof. Zzz. One by one fell to the ground, a smell of barbecue spread in the air of magnetic drum country, as well as the smell of electric burnt. Boom. The thunder dragon bombarded the gate of the palace, and forcibly smashed the gate open. Advertisement. The terrifying electric current scattered in all directions, leaving patches of black electric shock marks on the ground. Putting on a coat, DE walked towards the Wapol Palace step by step, as if looking at the scenery. Hiss hiss. Heijian's huge body swam quickly on the ground like a terrifying monster. Walking. Monster. It's a monster. When the king's army who came to stop him saw the black arrow, he backed away in fright. Snapped. With a flick of the snake's tail, its figure rushed out like an arrow. The huge body did not hinder its speed at all, but was even faster. Shoot. Shoot. Ding. 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 The bullet shot at Heijian's body, but it couldn't even penetrate the outermost layer of defense. Like hitting steel, sparks sparked out. Ah, ah, help. Don't eat me. Don't eat me. Facing the people who shot at him one by one, Heijian opened his big mouth directly, revealing his sharp fangs, and swallowed them cruelly one by one, making a hissing sound of satisfaction. Call. The snake's tail swung violently, like a whip several meters in diameter, fast and slow. Advertisement. Groups of King's Guardians were completely unstoppable and were sent flying. Kaka. The gun disintegrated directly under the powerful force. Poof. One by one, the King's guards smashed into the wall, directly smashing out potholes, and everyone who got stuck inside had turned into a puddle of flesh. It has to be said that a tyrant also has the advantages of a tyrant. For example, Wapol knows how to enjoy, the palace is well built, quite stylish, and enjoys the life of the upper-class nobles. The floor is paved with flat bluestone slabs, and a plush carpet is laid from the gate Li Nuohao. The roof cantilever beams are more than 10 meters high, carved with fine patterns, and some exquisite porcelain vases stand on both sides, showing a touch of nobility. Wapol was sitting on his own king's throne, made of gold and studded with magnificent gems. Obese and ugly, with dark purple hair, a huge mouth, and a cylindrical tin plate attached to the chin, with tyrannical eyes, staring at the intruder. Asked, "Who are you? Let him kneel down." De glanced indifferently and spit out 4 words. Without saying a word, Enel smiled cruelly. Crackling. The figure instantly turned into a blue lightning and disappeared in place. Advertisement. 106. Subdue the Tuntun people. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Wapol's eyes bulged, revealing disbelief, and exclaimed, "A Logia fruit-capable person. Yo, are you quite discerning?" Enel's teasing voice rang directly in his ears. Wapol looked back in horror, and saw Enel's big face. Boom. A punch with lightning hit Wapol's face directly, and the whole person flew up from his seat. Too fast, there is no resistance at all. His devil fruit ability, encountering such an existence, is a complete joke. Swallowing all kinds of guns and cannons is nothing more than the people below the tigers, and ordinary people. When encountering a real strong man, they are nothing. Boom. The whole person hit the floor heavily, but he got up quickly and roared, "Who are you guys? What is the purpose of coming to my kingdom?" Wapol, who has devoured a lot of metal, has the hardness of his body comparable to that of steel, and can slow down the physical impact to the minimum damage. Enel was suddenly surprised. His physical strength was much stronger than that on Sky Island. He had learned all Marine 6 styles, although the shaving and finger painting in it were useless to him. But he still learned it, and felt that this kind of physical skill was quite fun. Advertisement. Developing 30% of the brain is not a joke. The research ability has greatly increased, not to mention that Enel, who is a thunder fruit capable person and a geek himself, quickly mastered the Marine 6 styles. After receiving his punch, nothing happened, and it even gave him a feeling of being hit on steel. What a sandbag. Crackling. The figure turned into a bolt of lightning, surrounding Wapol at a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye. Bang bang bang. The sound of metal impact suddenly sounded, and Wapol flew up frequently after being hit, roaring again and again, but there was nothing he could do. De stepped up to the throne that originally belonged to Wapol, sat down lightly, and watched the scene with interest. Black Rose and Hancock, standing on both sides of De. Enel backed away, standing aside. Boom. Wapol's body hit the ground heavily, and this time he didn't stand up, but kept twitching on the ground, with blue electric currents constantly flashing on his body. The dark purple hair stood on end from the shock, emitting blue smoke, and his appearance was even more ugly. What an ugly person. Boa Hancock complained mercilessly. After the current dissipated, Wapol got up tremblingly. The Logia fruit was not something he could deal with. Although he was a tyrant, he still had some insight. Advertisement. Why do you want to invade my kingdom? The world government will not let you go. Wapol roared unwillingly. At this time, he was in a terrible mood. As the king of a country before, no one dared to resist him, but today a group of people came who didn't reason with him at all, and he only had the queen of world government. The king's guards outside didn't dare to come in at all, they rushed in all the way. Their originally brutal and invincible king was like a toy at this time, completely powerless to resist. So how dare they come in? Watching all this tremblingly, some people even hope that this group of people can overthrow the king. De's eyes were dark. Yubo wasn't surprised, he just glanced at Wapol lying on the ground indifferently, and said, "Kneel down." An invisible momentum radiated out, pressing towards Wapol like a mountain. Wapol's face was terrified. As a king, how could he kneel down like a man? Ask for flowers. As a tyrant, he can play with his own kingdom wantonly, and anyone who opposes him will have to die. Poof. Well, a good man doesn't suffer from immediate losses. The group of people in front of him will never be able to beat them by themselves. First, be obedient and avoid being wronged. Just kneel. Anyway, kneeling won't kill anyone. Wapol knelt down decisively, without hesitation. De was taken aback, originally seeing Wapol's angry face and a bit of backbone, but he didn't expect to kneel so simply. Enel next to him was about to help him, but he didn't expect the sudden scene to make him a little dumbfounded, with black lines all over his face. Advertisement. 0. Wang Jun, who watched the scene in the palace at the door, was stunned. He even knelt down. And there was no hesitation at all. The corners of their mouths twitched, and the king's army, who was still standing on Wapol's side, suddenly felt shaken. Does this guy deserve to be king? A king with no bones. De is too lazy to talk nonsense, how can he not know what Wapol is thinking? Raise your head, he ordered directly. Wapol quickly suppressed the viciousness in his eyes, and raised his head to look at De with some doubts. The eternal Mangekyo Sharingan emerged, turned wildly, and an invisible ripple spread out, aiming at Wapol's eyes. Distinguished heavenly gods. An invisible will, modifying Wapol's own will very quickly, just like Foxy's trash, except for the fruit ability, Wapol's own strength is a mess. The modification is completed in an instant. Master. At this moment, there was no trace of resistance in Wapol's eyes, only endless obedience and worship. Advertisement. 107. You come to be the king. Open black lens bracket. 1 more subscription. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Well, get up. De said lightly. Yes, master. Wapol walked aside respectfully. No anger was on his face. Enel at the side knew that Wapol had been subdued again, and his awe of De was getting deeper and deeper in his heart. Even a god would not possess such a means. Wang Jun, who was watching at the door, was dumbfounded. What's going on? Why did Wapol, who was originally resisting and irascible, suddenly become like this? Is this still Wapol, the original tyrant? What means? Wapol, bring Dalton here. De just ordered lightly, regardless of whether Wapol knew Dalton now or not. Dalton. Wapol looked confused, but still accepted the order. Yes, master, I will send Dalton right away. Striding towards the door, facing his former king's army, his eyes showed 19 cruel expressions. The previous Wapol has returned. He ordered in a cold voice. Who is Dalton? I'll give you a minute to come out, stand up. Almost as soon as Wapol showed that cruel look, those who used to be Wapol's guards and the king's army knew that Wapol hadn't changed at all, but they didn't know why Wapol obeyed the man inside. Advertisement. Many people are still under the influence of Wapol and dare not resist. There are still 10 seconds. If I don't come out, I will find you. I will not only torture you to death, but also destroy your family and all the families around you. Wapol's ugly face showed an evil smile. With tyranny and cruelty, start the countdown directly. 10, 9, 8. As soon as Wapol said this, there was a burst of chatter in the crowd. It was obvious that many people knew Dalton. They know the cruelty of Wapol, and they dare to do anything. In a big medical country, you can imagine how arrogant this man is, our dictatorship, who dares to disobey his orders. All must die. 3. When Dalton was about to count to 1, a tall figure stepped out from the crowd, and the king's guards automatically separated a path for him, and walked up to Wapol. I'm Dalton. It's you. Wapol immediately recognized this person as one of his guards, but he looked familiar and didn't remember the name, so he said coldly, come in, my master wants to see you. Call. Dalton took a deep breath. He knew that this time he was in danger, but he knew too much about Wapol's cruelty, so he didn't stand up. If Wapol was caught, then what he said could really be done. He raised his feet and followed Wapol into the hall. De looked at Dalton who walked in. Compared with more than 10 years later, he was younger and younger, with a square face, determination in his eyes, and a hint of generosity to die. Advertisement. Seeing De sitting high on it, Dalton had a trace of nervousness and fear in his eyes. You know me. De smiled faintly. De, some time ago the Marine 3 admirals failed to crusade against Nine Snakes Island. Marshal Marine came forward to speak. I believe everyone who reads the newspaper knows. Dalton controlled his trembling voice and said with difficulty. In fact, when De came to Magnetic Drum Kingdom and entered the palace, he saw De's face and recognized him. After all, such a big thing has happened. Like Wapol is busy hunting doctors now, brutal dictatorship, may not pay attention to the newspaper, but there are still many people who pay attention to the newspaper, and it is not surprising to know De in the big event that happened. Wapol was obviously stunned for a moment. He didn't expect his master to be so well known. What level is Marine 3 Admiral? Marine's highest combat power. Crusade failed. Marshal Marine came forward to speak. His master doesn't seem ordinary at all, and is very strong. Now Wapol is completely obedient to De, and of course he has to understand De, thinking that he must read more newspapers in the future, otherwise he will be very incompetent as a courtier. Yeah. De narrowed his eyes slightly, his eyes flashed, and he tapped the seat of the chair lightly with his fingers, as if he was thinking about something. Advertisement. Beads of sweat slowly slid down Dalton's forehead. Although it was icy and snowy, and the temperature was below zero, he felt that he was right next to the stove. The pressure on his body made him tense up. The strings did not dare to relax at all. What kind of person is De? Is that an existence that I can touch? Any one of his subordinates can destroy the Magnetic Drum Country. What does such a person want to do in the Magnetic Drum Country? What do you want to do when you see yourself? Too many doubts, too many questions, but I dare not ask them. Just when Dalton was extremely nervous and worried. Dalton, how about I make you the king of the Drum Kingdom? De's voice suddenly sounded. Ah. Dalton suddenly raised his head, his eyes widened, his mouth opened wide, his face full of disbelief. Wapol, who was standing by the side, also raised his head incredulously. The distinguished heavenly gods only asked him to obey De without erasing his memory. Wapol couldn't figure out how De made such an unknown member of the guards king. Even if he's gone, aren't there many people who can be kings? Why does it have to be this person? Advertisement. 108. Starred layout, second watch for collection. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Black Rose and Enel didn't understand what De was thinking, they just looked at it curiously. What's so special about Dalton below? Can it make De catch his eye? Of course, it is impossible for De to tell them that if Dalton hadn't come here, he would have become the captain of the Drum Kingdom's guard in the future. In the end, the Straw Hat Pirates defeated Wapol and he became the king. Easy to control. The great emperor. Dalton was incoherent for a while. Why didn't he think of it? He who thought he was going to die at any time, will become like this, let him be the king. This span is too big. He never dreamed that such a thing would happen to him. It was like a pie falling from the sky. The Drum Country has severe winter all year round and the weather suddenly became normal. There is a warm spring, a hot summer, and a cool autumn. The truth is, it's incredible. I am a person who has just become a member of the King's Guard not long ago. How did it happen to me? Why? Don't you want to? De gave a slight 890 smile. Advertisement. I don't know. At this time, Dalton was still young, and he was only dissatisfied with Wapol in his heart, and he had the idea of rebelling against the king, but becoming a king, the responsibilities he could bear were not enough. Same. With great ability comes great responsibility, and Dalton didn't think he had such ability. If you don't want to, Enel, then this country will be ruined. De's voice was still flat, but what he said made everyone present chill. The fate of a country is as simple as that. For De's identity, it can be destroyed if it is destroyed. Yes, boss, I just want to try my new move. Enel grinned ferociously, and the electric snake on his body swirled wildly. Dalton's whole body suddenly trembled, and his knees softened. With a plop, he BJBB knelt on the ground and begged quickly, Emperor De, don't. I am willing to obey all your orders. Dalton is also a capable person, animal demon fruit power, cow fruit. Of course he knew the horror of a terrifying natural fruit ability user. They couldn't resist a Paramesha fruit Wapol, let alone a Logia fruit ability user. De's eyes flashed a hint of satisfaction, and Dalton's last words clearly understood what he meant. The man was friendly, honest, but not stupid. Advertisement. Let me explain to you the development direction of Magnetic Drum Country. Yes, obey the Emperor's orders. Dalton was also very disturbed. He did this only to ensure the safety of the Drum Kingdom. Their king was too small for a person like De, and it could even be said to be insignificant. If you want to survive, you have to obey orders. The future of Drum Kingdom is only in De's whim. But as De kept explaining, Dalton no longer had the idea of despair, but became more excited. De's confession will not only make Drum Kingdom weaker, but also stronger, abandon all the stupid policies implemented by Wapol before, and of course stop the stupid behavior of hunting doctors immediately, and cultivate a reserve of doctors to continue to develop for the medical power. How can this not excite Dalton? All of this is thriving for Drum Country. Thank you, great Emperor. At this time, Dalton knelt down in complete convincing. He knew how prosperous De's policies would bring to the Magnetic Drum Kingdom. However, Dalton looked at Wapol, who was standing not far away, with a little worry. After all, this is the serious hereditary king of the Magnetic Drum Kingdom. Everything is according to the orders of the Great Master. Although Wapol was upset in his heart, he had a respectful look on his face. De can't be bothered to care about the thoughts in Wapol's mind. Drum Country, a well-known medically developed island on the Grand Line, and a medical reserve of talents, this link is a very important 10-ring. Advertisement. For many injuries, if there is correct medical treatment and timely treatment, it will not leave a root of trouble and remove hidden dangers. What if the current Whitebeard, who is known as the world's most powerful man, just broke out with secret injuries? He also has to have an oxygen tube inserted every day, becoming a sick child. Moreover, in war, it is very important to reserve medical talents. I really don't know how this world develops. Wapol, go and pass the throne to Dalton and arrange everything. De waved his hand. Yes, master, Wapol said respectfully. Immediately Wapol took Dalton out quickly. Although he didn't understand what was so rare in this broken country, Wapol didn't dare to resist De's order. After all, in his mind, the structure of a country is too small, it is just his entertainment. Come here. De waved to little Lori Biss. With a hint of surprise on Bissy's bright red face, she walked quickly to De's side, her eyes full of admiration. Triss looked at Biss' figure with envy in her eyes. Advertisement. 109. Immortality. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Dee touched Bissy's small head, whispered a few words into her ear, and at the same time took a letter to Bissy. Bissy hid herself close to her body, closed her eyes, and her petite figure disappeared instantly, invisible and without warning. The transfer fruit can not only transfer objects, but also transfer itself, which is also an extended fruit of spatial rules. When they were on Nine Snake Island, Dee asked Bissy to leave a mark, just to make it easier to go back. No matter how far apart, as long as you can still sense the imprint left, you can go back immediately. Devil fruit does have the magic of devil fruit. On the second day, Wapol almost settled things here, that is, the transfer of the throne to Dalton, and at the same time suppressed those who were about to move. And Bissy reappeared in the hall with a Nine Snake Island team of more than a dozen people. Advertisement. These people are all Nine Snake Island warriors, Grandmaster Observation Hockey and Armament Hockey that Dee asked Grandma Za to select. At the same time, they have already completed the study of Marine 6 Styles 19, and they just need to continue to practice hard. This is obviously the King's Guard prepared by Dee for Dalton. No matter how honest this person is, becoming a king is a step up to the sky, and his mentality is easy to lose balance. Dee will not be so reckless, and no matter how prosperous a country is, without the support of force, it will only become a fat robbed by the strong. Like late Drumland, messed up by a Blackbeard. Dee not only needs to reserve medical talents, but also to pretend to be armed and popularize fighting on a large scale. Force value is the foundation of a country, so it can control a country, and if you want to escape at that time, you can't escape from Wujishan. Before starting again, looking at the stars and sea, Dee said without emotion. Remember, I can give you everything, and I can take everything away from you in an instant, and even more. I must follow your teachings carefully, reserve medical talents on a large scale, and at the same time develop military power to create the most solid foundation for your majesty. At this time, Dalton knelt down on the ground loyally, without any resistance, say it sincerely. Dee's step-by-step considerations are completely unfavorable to the magnetic drum country, and even vigorously develop the magnetic drum country to bring a better life for the people. Advertisement. This is far from what Marine and world government can do. They asked the world government for help many times, but no one responded, and even many Marines blatantly asked for benefits. In this seemingly peaceful era of great pirates, how can the security of a country be guaranteed without force? Dalton doesn't want much, he only hopes that the people of Drum Country can live and work in peace and contentment, and Dee's request includes these. So what if I surrender to Dee? The Golden Emperor set sail again and left the magnetic Drum Country. Watching the Golden Emperor go away, Dalton still feels like he is dreaming. Originally, he was just a small guard, but now he has become the king of the Magnetic Drum Kingdom, and even has a group of masters by his side. Scent Guard Team. Holding a bow and arrow in his hand, he is heroic, full of wild and fierce aura. With big strides, he turned around and walked towards the palace, muttering, "Then the first step, according to what His Majesty said, is to win people's hearts." Soon after Dalton came to power, he promulgated the abolition of the hunting doctor, established by Wapol, and at the same time announced that he would support the people of the whole country to become doctors, and rewarded them generously, which instantly won the support of doctors in Drum Country. You must know that they were still in crisis not long ago. As soon as Dalton came to power, he immediately changed their identities, not only becoming useful to the country, but even getting rewards. Advertisement. This kind of king does not support Dai Jin. In an instant, the citizens of Magnetic Drum Kingdom, who were originally in chaos and panic, gradually settled down, and their hearts were gathering. Once people's hearts gather towards a king, it means that he is not far away from controlling the country. Wapol's property, Dayi and Bailey, were not taken, and they were all handed over to Dalton. He won people's hearts, gathered medical talents, recruited apprentices, and established a research base. The second step is to establish local characteristics and develop the economy. There are many magical legends and magical scenes in the world of pirates. There is a legend that has been passed down for thousands of years, that eating a 1,000-year-old dragon can lead to immortality, but today's 1,000-year-old dragon is already 5 times away, and of course, Dee knows that there is another 1,000-year-old dragon. The magical island plant Lily Carnation of the Carnival Duke's Island has survived for at least 1,000 years. It is a flower that can speak human words, a flower of life and death, and lives by eating people. It looks like a very cute little flower. His true face and nature are extremely ugly. The Lord of Sky on Sky Island has also survived for hundreds of years, witnessing the friendship between Vinbrand Rolando and the great warrior Carrigal. There is also Op fruit. The highest state of its fruit ability is to have the unaging operation that can give human beings eternal life. What's more, De has also checked the relevant ancient books of Nine Snake Island and found that the five elders have existed for hundreds of years, or even longer, which is very intriguing. Advertisement. 110. Lca Island, one update asks for a reward. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Even the lifespan of giants in the world of One Piece is only 300 years, even if five elders are giants, it is unreasonable. Munch fruit can devour anything and turn it into energy. Whether it reaches a certain level or not, the illusory ability of lifespan can also be extracted, and after the system is upgraded, can a concept that can transmit life force be born? Bold, but with a very reasonable guess. Of course, all of this has to be systematic. During this time, Wapol and Foxy became bad brothers, and they were drilled hard by Enel. The strength is too bad, the fruit ability only stops on the surface of the initial awakening, or because of some accidental small abilities, there is no deep digging at all. Similarly, Enel is very satisfied with Wapol, the new sandbag, which is very effective for his physical training. He had heard De say that he wanted to reach the top. Peak. Meat. The body must be strong, otherwise, no matter how powerful it is, your flesh will be lost. What's the use of being vulnerable? Jindy sailed quickly on the sea. Advertisement. But this time, De went to Lca Island, a magical place in the world of One Piece. The governor of Lca Island, Witten, is a very greedy person. He uses various reasons to collect taxes, so that the citizens of the island dare not speak out. When the Straw Hat Pirates entered, they were asked to pay entry fees. As soon as De's golden ship arrived, the greedy Whedon appeared, ready to blackmail him depending on the situation. It would be even better if the golden ship could be kept. But the moment he saw De, he was kicked. He was so frightened that he fell to the ground, covered in cold sweat. Who was De? The man who compromised in the naval headquarters, who offered a bounty of 1 billion, whose reputation surpassed that of the 4 emperors, how dare he blackmail? If you have the heart but not the guts, don't die. Wiping off his cold sweat, he hurriedly separated from the crowd, walked up obsequiously, and said humbly, "Welcome Emperor De to come to Lca Island, your arrival will make Lca Island flourish. I have already sensed your demeanor before arriving at Lca Island, and have prepared a sumptuous meal waiting for your appreciation." When he said this, he was also very uneasy. He didn't know what this pirate with a terrible reputation came to Lca Island. It won't be robbery. Ordinary pirates who came here would definitely laugh and be very satisfied when they saw this servile Captain Whedon, who was so witty. Advertisement. But De knew about Whedon's face, and probably came to this port because his Golden Emperor was attracted to him. Maybe it was like the Straw Hat Pirates in the anime, who extorted money for entering the country. Fame is a good thing, even if it is notorious. Strength is also a good thing, because it can crush everything. De responded lightly, without any other response. Although De didn't say anything, it made Whedon feel heavy in his heart, and he couldn't grasp De's mind at all. He has seen a lot of pirates, and he has seen a lot of big men, but he has never been so imposing. Standing in front of him, he feels even more pressure. Even though he didn't say anything, it made his feet tremble. Soft. Is this the spirit of the strong? Honestly followed behind De, and explained to De some interesting things about Lca Island, some architectural scenery, and some legends. Talk to people when you see people, talk to ghosts when you see ghosts. Even though Whedon was greedy for money to become the head of the government, his eloquence was indeed very good. Arriving at the luxurious manor built on the mountainside by Whedon, a table of exquisite and delicious food has already begun to be served in the hall, which made Whedon, who was already extremely nervous, heaved a sigh of relief. He was afraid that he would not prepare in time. After all, he went to the port with the intention of making a fortune. If the person in front of him discovered his original dirty thoughts, he would probably be decapitated. The big pirate kills people without any reason. Advertisement. You can't even reason with them. So he secretly gestured to his subordinates at the time, but fortunately his subordinates understood. If you don't understand, this scene will not come out, then what he said before is all nonsense, obviously a lie. He thinks he is smart, but all of this is in De's eyes, and there is nothing hidden about these little tricks. Single quote. Emperor Yi, please sit down. Whedon hastily pulled out the main seat he usually sat on, flattering all faces. Yeah. De sat down lightly, and waved his hands lightly to the few people who followed. Sit down, everyone. Bai Jiao. In the sea for a few days, the food I ate was not as delicate and rich as the food in front of me. Whedon wanted to sit down too, but Enel turned his head abruptly, his eyes flashed fiercely, and a blue lightning struck directly under Whedon's feet, so frightened Whedon jumped up and hid aside, not daring to approach at all. De didn't look at this side at all, as if nothing happened. As De made a move, the others followed, everything was full of order. Well, delicious. Not bad. Hancock, Kuina, Bis and Triss are still young, and they still maintain the childlike mind. They immediately smiled and ate happily, which also brought a different kind of warmth to the meal. Advertisement. 111. The Collapsed Different Dimension, second watch for a reward. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The special space created by the rainbow fog is a strange world where time seems to have stopped. According to DE's most common understanding of previous life, it is a special dimensional space in the turbulent flow of time and space. Every once in a while, it appears in a normal space, connecting the past, present and future for intersection. Although this special space is not big, its space structure is extremely special, just like a maze. No matter how you go, you will return to the original place, and there are many damaged ships inside, and the treasures on those ships are equivalent to a national treasury. They are all unlucky ships that have entered by accident or deliberately for hundreds of years, and finally got lost in the rainbow fog. DE asked Whedon about the local legend about the rainbow fog, and Whedon hesitated at first, not wanting to say anything. After all, Whedon has been spying on the treasures in the rainbow fog, and has been trying to find a way to enter the rainbow fog. After all, there are too many legends in it, and there are too many pirate ships that go in, and the wealth is beyond the enemy. But DE just nodded to Enel, and Enel suddenly smiled. He has tortured Foxy and Wapol for a while, but he has a lot of experience. Crackling. The thunder and lightning turned into a vivid electric snake between the palms, flowing back and forth. Immediately there were Whedon's miserable screams and begging for mercy. After a few rounds, he obediently spit out everything he knew. Advertisement. The records about the rainbow fog are indeed very strange. Although they are only some fragmentary records, they really make DE think deeply. But before DE came, he didn't plan to get into this thing directly, or change the way. He went to the magnetic drum country to subdue the good-for-nothing Wapol just to verify a certain idea in his mind. Directly ordered Whedon to send people to block the sea area, and DE led the crowd to the edge of the rainbow fog. The eternal Sharingan emerged, turning wildly, and the space in front of him was distorted. Kamui. An exhaust fan that looks very similar to the previous life appeared. Yes, this is an exhaust fan, and it is super powerful. With Enel's lightning, the current it can carry can be said to be very strong, and as the current continues, the powerful convulsions will become stronger. Whedon on the side has been watching this scene in bewilderment. He originally thought that DE would enter the rainbow fog. He must have refused, but he couldn't resist. But I didn't expect DE to come up with such a strange machine. Enel, activate. Wapol, get ready. DE calmly ordered. Yes, boss. As you order, master. Enel does not hesitate to input a stable and continuous high-voltage current. The continuous control during this period has already gained a lot of experience in the stable output of the current. Advertisement. Buzz buzz. The fan of the exhaust fan began to rotate crazily, making a roar like a helicopter. The mysterious rainbow mist was instantly attracted by the strong suction, gathered into a column shape, and Wapol had waited a long time ago, and his figure directly turned into a big mouth. It began to devour frantically. That big mouth was like a bottomless pit. That's right, DE is going to let Wapol devour the mysterious rainbow fog. As for the consequences, whether this strange space of rainbow fog will collapse or not has nothing to do with him. Grunt. Whedon watched this scene in shock. He never thought that DE would be so crazy. Want to say something, but dare not say it. This rainbow fog is like a continuous perpetual motion machine, constantly gathering, but as time goes by, it can still be seen to continue to decrease. Rat. Jindy is also constantly advancing. This swallow is half a month. This munch fruit is indeed very miraculous, and it is the ability of such a miraculous fruit to be so. Half a month later, the rainbow fog has become thinner, and even the distorted space inside can be vaguely seen. Advertisement. The space that is completely incompatible with the current space is stored in this mysterious rainbow fog. With the reduction of the rainbow fog visible to the naked eye, cracks appeared on the space wall in the different dimensional space that is completely independent of the subspace, and as Wapol continued to devour it, the cracks became more and more, covering the space wall like a spider web above. That independent space became precarious. 0. Emperor DE. This. Mayor Whedon of Leluca looked at this scene with trepidation, hesitated for a long time, and wanted to say something. Clang. Without DE speaking, Kuina directly pulled out the word, Hidao, and pointed at Whedon, full of threats. Grunt. Whedon's neck suddenly shrank, not daring to speak. At the same time, the rainbow mist was completely evacuated by the ever-increasing exhaust fan, without leaving any trace, and completely entered the mouth of Wapol's bottomless pit. Immediately, the wall of the dimensional space was covered with thousands of cracks. Crash. Direct collapse. The dimensional world that originally existed in a different space is directly compatible with reality. DE and others can see with their own eyes the cracks appearing in the space-fold space. It's like stuffing a piece of thing abruptly into a good thing, and the handover is covered with countless cracks. But it is visible to the naked eye that the cracks are slowly recovering, and the two spaces that were not connected before are gradually compatible for a long time. Advertisement. 112. Awakening of Paramesha. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Crash. The originally calm sea directly set off waves tens of meters high, wave after wave. Everything in the different dimensional space fell into the sea like dumplings. This wave comes fast and goes out quickly. When the sea was calm again, there were many kinds of shipwrecks on the sea level in the red fog area, full of history. All kinds of decaying wooden boats, triangular wooden boats, and even marine warships, but the style is very old, many styles have been eliminated, and many ships are even bigger than the current marine admiral ships, and all strange ships. After Wapol absorbed the rainbow mist, he fell flat on the deck and passed out. After continuously absorbing it for half a month, even though the fruit ability continuously transforms the rainbow mist into energy, the spiritual power has already been almost exhausted. Looking at all kinds of ships that emerged, Witten's eyes shone brightly, revealing incomparable greed. Advertisement. He had already guessed about the wealth in the rainbow mist, but he didn't expect that there were so many sunken ships inside. No wonder the waves rose tens of meters high in an instant. There is no end in sight at a glance, dilapidated ships stretching for thousands of nautical miles. With De's acquiescence, Witten's energetic staff began to salvage one after another, collect the wealth inside, and the things left behind. The benefit of absorbing the rainbow mist came out, and the comatose Wapol's figure began to twist, and when the twist reached the limit, his whole body turned into a ball of gas. It is exactly the same as the rainbow fog energy before. Constantly changing from solid to gas, without any rules. As this considered elementalization, De rubbed his chin, looking at this miraculous scene. Paramesha devil fruit can also be elementalized. That is, under certain circumstances, some upgraded evolutions can also occur. According to the devil fruit rules, the Paramesha fruit cannot be elementalized, but Wapol absorbs so much rainbow mist that the original flesh is transformed into ethereal gas. De has tried it, and it is impossible to cut it with a knife, and it even has the characteristic of rainbow fog. What feature? Advertisement. The rainbow fog can hide a different dimensional space, and the rainbow fog transformed by Wapol, although not so strong, can also distort the space. The ordinary steel knife, passing through the rainbow mist, reappeared, and the originally smooth surface was instantly covered with fine cracks. Crash. The whole knife instantly turned into pieces and fell to the ground. Interesting. Looking at this scene, De was very interested, and later asked Enel to bombard with lightning and Kuina to bombard with sword energy, but none of them had any effect. However, when armament hockey is used, Wapol is instantly transformed into an entity, which is very similar to Logia's elemental fluid, but different. After all, this thing is essentially Paramesha devil fruit. Of course, there is also De's conjecture, which cannot be verified until Wapol wakes up. After waiting for a week, Wapol's body gradually stabilized, and he no longer kept switching between solid and virtual bodies as before. Woke up and ate food like crazy for a week. De began to inquire about the doubts in his heart and got some news. Advertisement. The current Wapol can't use the time stop in the rainbow mist, at least not yet. At the same time, Wapol can gather rainbow fog to form a different dimensional space, but this different dimensional space is not very large. It is only about 10 cubic meters now, and the most important thing is that this different dimensional space can store living things, just like the space formed by rainbow fog same. It's useless for De. De Kamui has much more space than this, and it's much more convenient. The most important thing is that Wapol's current control over the rainbow fog is very unstable, which also makes the space unstable. Once unstable, there will be fluctuations. If something is stored in it, it will be lost and directly smashed by the turbulent flow of the space. Transforming into rainbow fog is indeed similar to Rainbow Misty 990, and it also comes with passive skills, which are the characteristics of rainbow fog. However, he still cannot transform at will and needs to practice continuously. However, Wapol still brought good news to De. His Munch fruit ability seems to have evolved, and the devoured things can not only be converted into unified energy, just like the food energy that every living body needs to supplement, but also can be converted into spiritual power. Although the amount is still small, it is a great start. That is, as long as there is food supplement, Wapol can become a perpetual motion machine. It is feasible to separate the life energy of living things, but it still takes a long time. This shows that De's guess is not wrong. According to De's memory, Paramesha devil fruit's higher level ability, awakening, of Paramesha devil fruit can affect things other than the ability user itself. That is to say, if you want the awakened ability to have an impact on things other than yourself, you must awaken. Advertisement. 113. Establishing a base area. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. And this time Wapol devoured the rainbow fog, it was just an upgraded. The awakening of the fruit ability is not only the evolution of the fruit ability, all the abilities of the individual must also be improved, unified planning, triggered at the right time, and grasping the 1 in 10,000 chance to awaken. That's why DE asked Wapol to train. This time, the operation on Lca Island was considered a success. Of course, this does not mean that they left. After Witten worked so hard to lead the salvage fleet to gather all the gold and silver treasures, DE and Enel appeared before they could cheer. Immediately, Witten's donkey-faced old man, with endless struggle in his eyes, finally bowed his body, licked his face and said flatteringly, "Master DE, this villain has worked so hard to gather together for you, the sun never dies." In the face of wealth and life, Witten did not choose wealth in the end, but life. Once life is lost, even if there are endless treasures, there is no use. Advertisement. With the existence in front of him, Marine and Admiral can't do anything about it. Can his thin arm twist his thigh? Hand it in obediently. After 457 he can still live his previous life, maybe he can still be surrounded by such and such characters, so that he can live a more chic life. Yeah, DE didn't say anything, and took over the treasures naturally. There are indeed a lot of treasures in the rainbow mist. Although many swords have been corroded, the remaining swords are not ordinary. There are also some peculiar ornaments, many of which have existed for hundreds of years, or even thousands of years, not only of their own value, but also of antique value. These DE don't care. Asking Bissy to quickly transfer these treasures to 9 Snake Island and Magnetic Drum Country, some of which are traded out and used as military expenses, can be regarded as a windfall. Jindy set sail again. In the world of pirates, there are 3 islands with very special geographical location, BJBA. One is Eni's Lobby, also known as the city that never sleeps, there is no night all year round, only day. One is the Mermaid Island, which exists at a depth of 10,000 meters under the sea, which is extremely magical. Advertisement. The last one is Sky Island. There is a special empty sea 7 kilometers above the sky, and Sky Island is 10 magical islands that exist in the sky 3 kilometers above the White Sea. What is Kakai? The navigable sea formed by sea clouds in the cumulus cloud at an altitude of 7,000 meters is called Kakai. The sea on the ground is called the Blue Sea. There is a big difference between the empty sea and the blue sea on the ground. The fish in it are all thin and flat. Even the ending of people swimming in the empty sea will pass through the bottom directly, and the final ending is to fall from a height of 7,000 meters. Sky Island is not an island, but the general name of Sky Island, which contains countless small islands. Enel's hometown is one of the small islands, named Burka, but he has already destroyed it. DE had already been to Sky Island the last time, that is, he took over Enel in Apaya, and took away a large amount of gold from the Golden Town. That time, it was just for money. The so-called Kingdom of God is the main body of Sky Island, which consists of 2 islands. An island of angels, an island of gods. The Sky Island that originally existed in the sky is called Angel Island, and there are angel residents with small wings living on it. Hundreds of years ago, the Golden Town, that was originally a part of Gaia Island was directly sent to the Bye-Bye Sea because of a super terrifying upwelling current. Advertisement. Because the residents of Sky Island have never seen soil before, and even plants can grow on the soil. In order to seize the most precious resource of Bye-Bye, the land, they clashed with the Aborigine Shandora in the Golden Town, so that the evolution for war. The ruler of Sky Island is called God. As time goes by, because it is very difficult to go to Sky Island, fewer and fewer people have ever been to Sky Island, and many people do not think that Sky Island exists in the sky, or that life exists, and that everything is made up of. To get to Sky Island, you can take the upward swinging backflow, or fly straight up like DE did last time. Of course, you can also use a hot air balloon octopus, but this thing is a special creature of Sky Island. Qinghai is very rare, and it is regarded as a magical creature. Few people know that this thing can be used to travel to the sky. But this time, DE didn't need to break through the empty sea by himself, but the Jindy was flying directly in the air, controlled by Enel. Jindy can sail in the sea and fly in the sky. If it is equipped with wheels, it can run on land. Then the sea, land and air will run rampant. Thinking of returning to Sky Island, Enel couldn't help but feel a little bit of anticipation. During the period of following DE, he saw that Qinghai is incomparably vast, and there are as many strong people as there are trees, and only then did he realize how small Sky Island is, how ignorant the previous life pattern was. DE has already told him the purpose, this time to establish a revolutionary base. The location is impressively on the Sky Island, so it will also face. Advertisement. 114. The Gate of Heaven, one watch for flowers. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. If DE hadn't been to Sky Island would have become Enel's backyard by then, and the original gods and natives would have been cleaned up by him long ago. Of course, in that case, he would lack so much experience, and he would become arrogant and complacent. Because on Sky Island, he doesn't have any opponents, and he won't be as strong as he is now. In his heart, he respects, admires, and appreciates De very much. At the same time, I am looking forward to this trip. After all, the journey he had thought about before, but this time the journey came a bit late, and at the same time, he became stronger. Crash appeared from the empty sea at an altitude of 10,530,000 meters, and landed on it. Call. Enel took a deep breath, and a smile appeared on his lazy face. Sure enough, this place hasn't changed at all. Advertisement. Although the altitude is 10,000 meters, Enel quickly adapted to the air pressure here. After all, he is a native of Sky Island, although this is not his original hometown. De just felt a little short of breath, and then quickly returned to normal. His physical body became stronger than last time, and he recovered faster. Black Rose also came last time. She is a swordsman and has a strong body, but it takes some time to get used to it. But the girls Hancock, Kuina, Bissy, and Trice obviously felt something was wrong. They were breathing heavily, their heads were a little dizzy, and their foreheads were sweating. In this state, it is very good to be able to exert 30% of their strength. But even so, the little girls did not pay attention to this, but stared at the white world with wide eyes. Everything is white, the mountains are white, the sea is white, the river is white, yes, just like the snow white of heaven, just like in a fairy tale. It's so beautiful. With red hearts in Hancock's eyes, he fell in love with it immediately. Yeah, Kuina, who was usually ascetic, couldn't move his eyes at this moment. It's so beautiful, so beautiful. The two little girls, Biss and Triss, also said the same thing. In the concept of girls, beauty always occupies a very important position. For the altitude of 10,000 meters, the most direct realization lies in the two waist wood Wapol and Foxy. Master, I feel like I'm short of breath, am I going to die? Fox collapsed on the ground, sweating constantly on his forehead. Advertisement. Yes, Master, I feel like I can hardly breathe. Wapol's face was also flushed. Hancock, Biss, and Triss, as fighters of Nine Snake Island, have received strict training since they were young. Kuina has received strict sword training from her father since she was a child. The training is with men, and her physical fitness is better than the two useless woods. Too much. De glanced at the two of them indifferently. Enel, after this incident is over, double the training for the two of them, even a child. Enel glanced at the two with disdain, and grinned coldly. Yes, boss. These two guys are too embarrassing for me, although the girls around the boss are not simple, but there is no one else here, I have been in charge of their training all the time. I was already thinking about how to stimulate the two of them to train harder and more effectively. When Foxy and Wapol heard De, they wanted to double their training intensity, almost rolled their eyes and passed out. During this time, Enel often stimulated them with electric current in order to allow them to train effectively, without leaving traces, but the stimulation was particularly painful. It was hell, much more painful than the 20 years they had lived in. I didn't expect that a word from myself would not only make myself feel better, but the hell training instantly turned into a death hell training, which made the two of them teary. They were weak. Did they do something wrong? They were also very desperate. But the two dare not complain anymore. If De doubles again, they will have to be trained to death. Advertisement. Enel is a guy who doesn't make sense and will only increase their training volume, not decrease it at all. They have already seen their miserable future, and their lives are in darkness. Although I know that training is painful and there is a price to pay for becoming stronger, but the price is so high. When the two of them thought about their painful future, the side effects of their bodies had gradually disappeared. Of course, the impact must still be there, such as easy fatigue, very uncomfortable breathing, and weak reaction. It is estimated that at this time the combat power is less than 10% of the usual. The Gate of Heaven. De didn't look at it much last time, but this time when he saw the tall and magnificent gate with the words 2.2 written on it, his face couldn't help but twitched. People who don't know really think they are in heaven. Entering the entrance of Sky Island, a figure with a face like a sour plum appeared, and behind her were two small white wings. Kakaka. A flash of light flashed, and a camera was directly taken to take pictures of the faces of the first few people. I am the surveillance officer of the Gate of Heaven. Amazon, are you here for sightseeing, or for war? The old voice sounded. P.S. The author's health is much better, and I am going to update quickly. I hope everyone will vote for more flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly tickets. Thank you very much. Advertisement. 115. Insufficient experience in life, second watch for flowers. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. And on board the Golden Emperor. What an ugly angel, she looks like a sour plum. Hancock said with a look of disgust, she is the legendary face control, a perfect person like King Di. Sweat. Kuina whispered with black lines all over her head, Hancock, isn't that a bit rude? What these two people said was obviously not on the point, but on the crux of the fundamental problem, but Bissy and Triss were much better. Sightseeing. Bissy asked curiously. War. What do you mean? Triss looked solemn. It doesn't matter which one. If you think about the upper class, please pay the fee to enter the kingdom of heaven first, 10 IQ per person, this is stipulated by the law. Amazon, who looks like a sour plum, suddenly said very plainly. What? $1 billion. Hancock's delicate little face went dark. Clang. Kuina, who originally said that Hancock was impolite, directly pulled out his own words of peace. Advertisement. $1 billion. This number sounds scary at first glance, it's all asking for trouble. This sour plum, my heart is too dark. Kuina complained without hesitation in her heart. This sour plum is obviously cheating money. Bissy said the feelings of the girls. Triss nodded desperately. Then what if you don't pay? Hancock raised his head proudly and said. You can still go in. Amazon said calmly. ... Forehead. Hancock, who was still saying something, was choked up suddenly, and he didn't expect this answer at all. The little girls Kuina, Bissy, and Trissy were also stunned, thinking that they were being prevented from entering. Of course, it's okay if you don't go in, because I'm not a gatekeeper or a guard, I just want to ask what you mean. What Amazon said is a matter of course. Let Hancock and the others nod their little heads. They already look like sour plums in the Amazon, and they are probably not far from the coffin. How could they stop their progress? But there was a faint feeling in my heart that something was wrong, but I couldn't say it. Dee just looked at it indifferently. This is also considered to give a few girls some social experience. Some people are not as harmless or honest as they appear on the surface. Many people's hearts are hidden in their hearts. Advertisement. Amazon, the supervisor of the Gate of Heaven, has a cunning personality and an old man with a face like a sour plum. When Straw Hat Crew arrived at the Gate of Heaven, he hinted in an ambiguous manner that he could be exempted from paying the entry fee, but after entering the country, he secretly contacted the soldiers and priests and asked to pursue them. This is human nature, that is, people like Hancock and the others who are inexperienced or defenseless against what these people say. You are smart, so what are you waiting for? Let's go. Hancock's small face is very proud, as if she got all of this under threat. Enel, let's go. Dee said lightly. Notifying the current god and guard also saved him a lot of time. Yes, boss. The sky blue electric current made Jindy run quickly, advancing at a high speed, and going upstream. And sure enough, just when the Jindy was going upstream, Amazon, who had just looked indifferent, turned to the current god and began to report. The supervisor of the Gate of Heaven, Amazon, tell the Almighty God and all the priests that 9 illegal immigrants have invaded the kingdom of God, please punish them. After Enel was left here by Dee, Gonfor came back again, and naturally the kingdom of God returned to Gonfor again. When the Jindy sailed into the port of Angel Island, there was already a sky island dedicated to controlling the intruders, the priest's direct troops, and the white beret troops were waiting. As soon as he saw the Jindy, the captain directly roared. Advertisement. You just informed the surveillance officer that the wine from Shanghai was illegally entering the country, and you must accept God's punishment. Quote. Surveillance officer. Illegal entry. God's punishment. Hancock is not stupid. He retrieved so much information in an instant, thought of a picture in an instant, and gritted his teeth for a while, angrily said, it's that sour plum tent. It turns out that everything is a trap. They can come in, but once they come in, they will be regarded as illegal immigrants if they do not pay the national entry fee. At that time, they were all tricked. It's so sinister. Kuina pursed her mouth and said. It's too insidious. Bissy and Trissy didn't expect that the old woman at the Gate of Heaven would be so insidious. As soon as they came in, she notified them without telling them anything. Dee patted the angry Hancock's little head, and said, not everyone can Wonghao believe it, like you guys who have never gone out to practice, and many times it is estimated that you will be sold and help count the money, so be careful, raise your strength up to see the world. Yes, my lord, Hancock said pitifully. Yes, Master Dee. Kuina was still a little guilty for complaining about herself, but after knowing what the Sour Plum and Amazon did, there was no guilt in her heart. Yes, Your Majesty the King. Biss and Triss also lowered their heads. There is no possibility of sophistry. Grandma Amazon, the surveillance officer of the Gate of Heaven, has already taken the photos with the camera. The White Beret Captain McKinley took out a group of photos. It is everyone's, especially Hancock's, is the clearest. Advertisement. 116. The Magic Cloud Arrow. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Hancock's face was reddish, Very beautiful, but I didn't know it. It was the sour plum that took a quick photo when we first met before speaking, so it turned out to be like this. Lack of experience in life is a disadvantage. Now that the whole story is probably clear, I am even more ashamed. I was still complacent, thinking that I had raised my prestige for the king, but I didn't expect to be ashamed. Catch him, don't let him get away. McKinley waved his hand. I saw the bows and arrows in the hands of the players in white berets aiming, pulling them into a circle, ready to shoot at any time. If you make trouble, you will solve it yourself. Dee said lightly. He began to cultivate the ability of several girls to solve incidents. After all, everyone around him will dominate in the future. It is impossible for him to follow them all the time, so he must develop good habits. What's more, for a few little girls, only by constantly fighting can they be improved, otherwise how can they grow? Especially when they first came to Sky Island, it has a great impact on them. They may not feel it yet, but once they start fighting, they will feel it very clearly. At any time, the enemy cannot be underestimated, unless their strength has reached a certain limit, such as the admiral level. Advertisement. Yes, Your Majesty the King. Hancock suddenly became refreshed, and a cold light shone in his beautiful eyes. It was these guys who made him lose face in front of the king, and he must make them pay the price. Clang. Without further ado, Kuina pulled out the words of Hidao and stood beside Hancock. Triss, who has a gentle personality, directly took off her own bow and arrow from her back and put it in her hand, and she did not see her holding the arrow, but her gentle eyes were full of determination at this time. Bissy, who has a lively personality, also took out her own weapons, 2 exquisite daggers, which were rewarded to her by Dee, which made her very fond of them. 9 Snake Island fighters, natural fighters, for the king, they can fight desperately. 4 similar girls, confronting Sky Island's white beret warriors. Master, they haven't adapted to the altitude of 10,000 meters. Black Rose stood beside Dee, asking a little worriedly. Percent. Z% 1% at. Although she is Kuina's master, she is like the elder sister of all the girls. She usually takes care of several girls. After all the girls are centered on Dee. How can Rose not know the thoughts of these little girls? I have already recognized the status of several girls, but I just called my sister a little earlier. You have to go through it. Fight more in front of me, so you can feel more at ease. Dee patted Rose's head lightly and said. Black Rose nodded. Indeed, it is safer to fight in front of them than to fight away from yourself in the future. If you have the opportunity to not exercise now, it may be a bit late in the future. Catch them, Cloud Arrow, shoot. McKinley was extremely annoyed, and directly roared. Advertisement. This group of Qinghai people didn't take them seriously at all, and even sent 4 little girls. This is a naked humiliation. Call out, call out, call out. A series of cloud arrows were shot together, and shot towards the 4 little girls quickly, leaving long clouds in the air. Tread, tread, tread. The 4 hurriedly dodged left and right, or jumped high. The little girls' curiosity was very great. When they landed, they found that the cloud arrow was very miraculous. The cloud and mist it formed in the air did not disappear. 1. Normally, when an arrow is shot, it is shot, but this cloud arrow actually produces a materialized cloud in the air. The 4 people stepped on it, and there was no sign of falling, just like stepping on the clouds of Sky Island, which is amazing. Advertisement. Dee and Rose also watched this scene with interest. From the moment the cloud arrow shoots to the point where the arrow hits the ground, it forms a long arch bridge-shaped arc of clouds in the air, which is quite interesting. If you need to cross certain cliffs or jump over high altitudes in the previous life, such as a quick escape, or avoid tracking, but a good thing. 0. Because people can still run on it, I have to say that this world is amazing. Come on. White Beret troops, followed McKinley's order. I saw the members of the White Berets jumping onto the cloud arrows they shot one by one, and the speed of each of them increased sharply, and it was no slower than the cloud arrows shot before. With a grin on his face. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. One by one, they quickly slid past the 4 girls, attacking at the same speed. What a magical attack method. It turns out that this cloud arrow is not only for attacking, but for assisting the next battle. The beautiful eyes of the Black Rose looked at all of this curiously. Qinghai can't see this way of fighting. Dee also watched it with gusto. I didn't have time to watch it last time. Watching this scene with my own eyes is much more interesting than watching anime in my previous life. I watched the white berets and the things on my feet, just like the skates in my previous life. It has the same work, but it has a power device. If he thought right, it should be Fengbei, which increased the power, allowing these people to move extremely fast on the clouds and mists, and increasing their attack power by 1,000. Advertisement. 117. The First Battle of the Girls. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. To say that these people's physical fitness is at the level of ordinary people, it is this magical method that makes everyone very interested and feels very interesting. And when the speed reaches a certain level, their attack power will naturally increase. This is the same as the heavily armed soldiers in the previous life, and a martial artist who is stronger than himself in fighting ability, but still cut down with one knife or shot down with one shot. This is the importance of equipment. Creak, creak. Enel kept gnawing on apples like a mouse. As a native of Sky Island, he certainly knew all kinds of magical Sky Island shells. On the contrary, he felt that many things in Qinghai were miraculous, much better than these shells. Sky Island shells refer to 19 special shells in Sky Island. Sky Island has a wide variety of shellfish, everything from living furniture to combat weapons. The unique Sky Battle on Sky Island is a special battle that uses various shellfish as weapons. There are 4 types of wind shells: double wind shells, giant shells, and jet shells. From ordinary to rare, that is to say, the more air volume can be stored in it, the rarer it will be. Advertisement. These white berets and the skates made of them are actually equipped with double wind shells to provide them with power devices. Coupled with their usual long-term training, they can well control their balance on the cloud arrow, and thus transform it into an auxiliary mode for their own attacks, which can defeat powerful enemies. In the past, many troublesome pirates who came to Sky Island from Qinghai were defeated in this way. It is not so easy to adapt to the altitude of 10,000 meters. The body is not used to it. Many people have less than 30% of their strength, or even less than 10%. Being defeated, just like when the Straw Hat Luffy and his gang came up to Sky Island, no one could stand still, let alone resist. Coupled with the strange and never-before-seen abilities of Sky Island, many arrogant pirates were instantly tragic. He didn't die on the dangerous way to Sky Island, but died in the hands of someone weaker than himself. Puff, puff, puff. The strong wind spewed out from the wind shell, instantly giving the members of the White Berets great momentum, and rushed towards the 4 surprised girls again. Of course, the 4 girls were very curious about this mysterious device. This attack method, as well as the thing formed by the cloud arrow under their feet, is really a bit magical. However, as the frequency of attacks became faster and faster, it became more and more difficult for the 4 girls to dodge. Especially if I haven't adapted to the altitude of 10,000 meters, the thin air, heavy breathing, lack of oxygen, and my head is getting heavier and heavier. Only at this time did they realize that their current strength could not even be used to their usual 30%, their reaction force became worse, and their physical strength consumption was 10 times faster than usual. If they wanted to do the usual difficult dodging moves, they would need to consume dozens of physical strength times. This made the 4 girls feel physically exhausted very quickly, panting heavily. Advertisement. Immediately, they realized that the longer this battle lasted, the worse it would be for them. Quick cut. Kuina sternly shouted. This time she didn't dodge, and rushed directly to the Sky Island fighter who was attacking her. The word he dao in her hand turned into a phantom in front of her, split into 3, and chopped off in the air. In Qinghai, Kuina could split into 5 swords in an instant, but at this time his physical strength was already exhausted. Clang, clang. When the swords intersected, the sharpness of the supreme fast knife cut off the opponent's long sword directly, and directly chopped at the opponent's shoulder. Ah, pooh. Accompanied by a scream, blood splashed, and the arrow of the cloud fell directly, falling to the ground. Kiss the gun. Hancock tapped his fingers to his lips, making a tiny peach. Heart-shaped substance. Use your finger as the muzzle to aim and shoot the target, then use it as a bullet and eject it directly. The Sky Island fighter who was attacking quickly was unprepared and was directly hit and submerged in the body. In the eyes of everyone, the Sky Island fighters who had been advancing rapidly turned into petrification without warning, including their clothes and weapons in their hands. Advertisement. It couldn't be stopped at all. In the terrified eyes, within a few seconds it turned into a stone in an attacking shape, and dropped 600 cloud arrows. Boom. Crash. The petrified Sky Island warrior was really like a stone, falling to pieces. Arrows. Triss's small face was full of determination at this time, holding the bow without arrows in her hand, pulling it into a full circle, and cried out in a low voice. From what she saw, a branch appeared quickly, condensed into an arrow at a speed visible to the naked eye, and hit the bow and arrow. Armed color. The original green arrowhead portion instantly turned black. Whoosh. The arrows are fast and slow. The 9 Snake Island warriors use bows and arrows, and they are all bow masters. The accuracy exceeds any bow and arrow player in the previous life. Moreover, their bows and arrows are all specially made, and the bowstrings are Sea Kings in com belt. The tendon support, very tough. Entangled. The bow and arrow that circled armament hockey almost instantly hit the Sky Island warrior rushing towards Triss. Flutter. Armament hockey broke through their defense in an instant, hit his heart part, and the arrow appeared directly from behind. Advertisement. 118. End the battle. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Puff. A mouthful of blood spewed out of his mouth, and the Sky Island soldier who was shot was thrown back abruptly, his eyes revealing a deep sense of disbelief. Is this the harmless little loli just now? That's not all. The Sky Island fighters who flew into the air exploded without warning. No, to be precise, it was the arrow that exploded suddenly. Tear up. Crash. The Sky Island soldier was directly blown to pieces, and a shower of blood rained down from the sky, accompanied by fragments of colorful internal organs, staining the land made of cloud matter on the ground red. Call. Hee, I'm coming. Bissy breathed out lightly and smiled cutely. Immediately, her body disappeared without warning, before the Sky Island fighters who attacked her. ZZZ. Advertisement. The Sky Island fighters hurriedly stopped, their eyes full of doubts, and they looked around. Silently, Bai's figure appeared behind him. Pooh. The two daggers, sharp enough to reach the sharpness of a big knife, pierced the chests on both sides from the back without mercy. Even if the heart was born on the other side, it was useless. Turning around in amazement, with an incredulous expression on his face, he saw Bissy, who was looking at him with a smile. This ratio. Bissy pulled out the dagger, and blood shot out directly. Give it a little push. The unbelievable Sky Island warrior dropped the arrow of the cloud straightly, plopped, and fell to the ground. Although the blood flowed, he died slowly. The white beret Captain McKinley sat down on the ground in fright, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets, his little heart was trembling, his lips were trembling, and he shouted in horror. Evil, BJAF, Devil Fruit Ability User. The God of Sky Island is Demon Fruit Power, which is very powerful. Moreover, he knows that these Qinghai people have just arrived in Sky Island, and they are still not used to the air pressure of Sky Island, and their fighting power is very insufficient, but seeing these weird methods makes his heart cool. Then when they adapt to the air pressure here, how powerful it will be. Advertisement. The most important thing is that there are still 4 little girls on the golden boat, those people haven't done anything yet. For the first time, he found that things seemed to be beyond his expectations. Whoosh. After rolling and crawling, he got up directly and ran away quickly, thinking that everyone hadn't noticed. De glanced at McKinley's back lightly, and didn't take it seriously. This place will be his territory from now on. In fact, letting the 4 girls do it is to let them experience more things. Of 4 girls, Boa Hancock possesses the Conqueror's Hockey, that only one person among millions of people possesses, and will become the world's #1 peerless beauty in the future, possesses the Paramesha fruit, sweet fruit, that complements her beauty, if it wasn't for De-2, is one of the future Shichibukai, with great potential. Kuina, in the original book, unfortunately fell from the attic to her death due to overtraining when she was a child, but her strength crushed Zoro and all her father's male children when she was a child. Her talent can be imagined, but her father is not good at teaching girls. Kuina's potential exploded out, and her swordsmanship was greatly improved. Beth, a fighter from Nine Snakes Island, a natural fighter, has also eaten the transfer fruit, and she is elusive. With armament hockey, even Vice Admiral can make a fool of herself. Triss, a warrior of Nine Snake Island, is a born warrior, very good at archery, and it is even more terrifying to cooperate with Logia Mumuguo, and Mumuguo is still under development, with great potential. Every girl grows up to be independent. Although the 4 girls are much stronger than these Sky Island fighters and have a solid foundation, they can't exert their full strength at this time, so they are reluctant to cope. Even many times, they were almost fatally injured. Advertisement. The rapid consumption of stamina and air pressure are their worst enemies. Whether it is the ability of Devil Fruit, or attacking and dodging, it consumes their physical strength, and even as time goes on, it is their perseverance that will be tested. So when the 4 of them struggled to knock down these White Beret members, the 4 girls were also sweating profusely, very embarrassed. Whoops. Whoops. The heavy breathing sounds like a dilapidated bellows. The more they fight, the more they realize how natural this environment affects them. A group of pirates who can be said to be the most ordinary, just holding some equipment they have never seen before, can make them so embarrassed. Let them recognize some facts and learn a lot. This is obviously what De wants them to realize. Being strong is not only about force, but also brains. If you broke out with all your strength from the very beginning and were not attracted by novelty things, it could even be said that you were so embarrassed because you were too confident and believed in your own strength. Many big pirates in Qinghai were planted in this way on Sky Island, so that they died extremely. Just because of the opponent's special fighting style and special environmental influence, you said how aggrieved it is to be crushed by ordinary people, so that you lose your life in defeat. Advertisement. 119. What is? Second shift asking for a monthly pass. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. You know, if it was in Qinghai, without being affected by the air pressure at an altitude of 10,000 meters, any one of the 4 girls could crush the opponent's entire team. Even if they win, the 4 girls still have nothing to be proud of. Standing in front of De with their heads down, they were a little depressed and did not dare to look up at De. De touched the 4 little heads lightly, and said with a smile, "Why are you all shaking your heads? You all won, so you should be happier." But. Hancock's cute little face was flushed, and he hesitated and couldn't speak. "Lord De, we should deal with the enemy as soon as possible." Kuina's face was pale. After all, she is a swordsman, so she consumes more stamina than the other girls. Advertisement. I'm sorry, my lord, we shouldn't underestimate the enemy. Bissy and Trissy's small face was also full of self-blame. De didn't know what the little girls were thinking, and said gently, "It's good to know, pay attention next time, and give the enemy a gap, and you will increase the danger for yourself. After all, you are my best friend." Worried. At this moment, De's gentle face and tall image were so bright and shining in the hearts of the 4 little girls. Especially the caring words, like a beam of intense laser light, irradiated into the hearts of Hancock, Kuina, Biss, and Triss, leaving a deep imprint on them, which made the 4 girls feel better in an instant, and they also be more determined. Come on. Hancock's exquisite little face was blushing, extremely happy. "My lord is worried about me, really worried about me. My lord is so perfect, I really want to be your lord's bride." They must work harder. Kuina's big watery eyes are full of admiration. "Master De is so perfect, not only powerful, but also so gentle. I really want to follow him forever. I must become stronger and become the number 1 in the world. Only a swordsman can stand beside Lord De." Little stars shone in Bissy's clear and beautiful eyes. "My lord king is so perfect, Bissy must work harder to share my worries for my lord. As long as I stand next to my lord, Bissy will be happy." Triss's gentle and beautiful eyes are full of firmness. Triss has to work hard too. The king is so kind to Triss, not only gave Triss the Logia fruit, but also cared for Triss so much. Advertisement. Triss must repay the king well. Quote. De didn't pay attention to how her unintentional teaching of the 4 girls had a great influence on the 4 girls who grew up slowly and fell in love with each other. He lightly ordered, "Enel, go to the gods' district." "Yes, boss." Enel chuckled, his figure transformed into a flash of lightning, and quickly controlled the Jindy to fly again, heading towards the island of gods. God's Island, a sky island near Angel Island, where God forbids civilians to set foot. 400 years ago, the Golden Township, which was originally a part of Gaia Island, was sent to the Bye-Bye Sea due to an upwelling current and became the Island of the Gods. And the so-called Golden Town is the ancient civilization, Sandora, that disappeared 800 years ago. In order to seize the most precious resource in Bye-Bye Land, the residents of Angel Island drove away the Aborigines on the Island of the Gods. This also led to continuous disputes between the 2 races for 400 years. Before, Enel chased Gonfall away, on the Isle of the Gods. The people on Angel Island who were scared away saw the flying away Jindy slowly appearing on the street. When they saw the bloody scene in the port, they suddenly heard exclamations and unbelievable calls. Advertisement. Ask for flowers. The Jindy flew quickly and landed directly outside the Palace of the Gods, that is, outside the residence of the current god, Gonfour. In the previous One Piece anime, Gonfour is a god who loves his people. I was living a happy and healthy life. But one day, his happy life ended, when the god Enel appeared leading the priests and soldiers. The god Enel forcibly occupied the throne and ruled over Sky Island. The Nationals and Gonfour did not dare to resist, because of their limited strength. Enel who possessed Thunder Fruit was invincible, and those who disobeyed him would be punished by God. However, Gonfour did not give up on this Sky Island. He is still silently saving the people and governing the country. He is a very good god. Hoo. As soon as the Jindy landed, a shadow flew out from the Palace of Gods, a flying horse with wings, but this horse looks a bit strange, with a head that looks like a horse but not a horse, and a body with black spots on a red background, although the shape looks like a Pegasus, but no matter how you look at it, it's awkward, it's an insult to the Pegasus. Pierre, Cam 4's personal companion. It is Sky Island's unique bird, Sky Point Bird, Zone Mama Fruit Pegasus form ability, Pegasus Bird, can become Pegasus. Sitting on it, holding a weapon in his hand and wearing armor, it is Gonfall. Falling from the sky, he shouted loudly, "What are you?" Before he could finish his sentence, his throat seemed to be choked, and his serious face looked like he had seen a ghost. He looked down in surprise, and tremblingly said, "Why? How did you enter?" Quote. Advertisement. 120. Gonfour who vomits blood. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The person looking was not De, but Enel, who was standing behind De and grinning. Gon 4 will never forget that 2 years ago, a figure descended from the sky, with terrifying lightning shining all over his body. His priests and soldiers were not in the same place at all. Terrible Logia fruit ability users, especially the legendary Thunder Fruit, which is the supreme treasure of Sky Island. There are many clouds and fog in Sky Island, and the lightning itself is that when the weather is hot and humid, the water on the ground is heated and turned into steam, and rises with the heated air on the ground, and meets the cold air in the air, causing the rising water vapor to condense into small water droplets. Cumulus clouds form. The water droplets in the cloud are blown by strong air currents and split into some small water droplets and large water droplets. The larger water droplets are positively charged, and the small water droplets are negatively charged. Negatively charged thunderclouds are formed by fine water droplets gathered by the wind. Larger positively charged water droplets often fall to the ground as rain or remain suspended in the air. Due to electrostatic induction, negatively charged thunderclouds induce a positive charge on the surface of the Earth. 19. In this way, a large capacitor is formed between the thundercloud and the Earth. When the electric field intensity is very large and exceeds the breakdown strength of the atmosphere, the discharge between the thundercloud and the Earth occurs, which is generally called a lightning strike. Thunderclouds are rare in Sky Island, but there are also many. Thunder Fruit is the real godlike existence in Sky Island. According to the historical records of Sky Island, Thunder Fruit has always been the best devil fruit eaten by Sky Island's god. When Angel Island came to Qinghai from the moon to settle at an altitude of 10,000 meters, the first god at that time was Thunder Fruit. Ruled all of Sky Island, and there were not many Lunarians at the time. Advertisement. But then, with the death of the first god, Thunder Fruit disappeared, and then Sky Island slowly split. 2 years ago, Enel turned into a thunderbolt, formed a thundercloud in the air, and used the thundercloud to release the thunderbolt. The place covered by the thundercloud was within the attack range. Gon 4 and his priests were no opponents at all. Powerful, completely crushing. Being kicked out of here directly, Gon 4 has been unwilling to reconcile in his heart, and has been trying to defeat Enel. He sneaked back once and couldn't find Enel, which made him very puzzled, but as time passed, he thought Enel had left here. But he didn't expect that 2 years later, this terrible nightmare would appear in front of him again. That invincible posture was deeply engraved in the depths of his soul, and his body was trembling violently. Thunder Fruit is like the endorsement of God. In historical records, it is simply not something that ordinary people can resist, especially in Sky Island. Despair, deep despair. Yo, you're back again. Enel grinned, not paying attention to Gon 4, but an opponent he had defeated. Even if you find a group for him now, it's still not a place to be together. Tang tang tang. In the Palace of Gods, the priests and soldiers of Gon 4 quickly appeared, shouting loudly, "Protect the god." They quickly surrounded De and the others, but when many people saw Enel, their necks shrank immediately, and their feet shrank back, and they faltered instantly, their eyes full of fear. Many of them have tasted the taste of being almost grilled into meat kebabs by electric current, and that kind of taste is not something ordinary people can bear. Advertisement. Fortunately, those who survived did not die, even if they endured it, they lost half their lives. Call. Gon 4 took a deep breath, suppressing the panic and worry in his heart. Enel, you left, didn't you? Why are you back again? I need you to talk to me when I come back. Enel curled his lips. If he had seen the fear in these people's eyes before, he would have been happy, but now his eyes are higher. These are just ants. Gon Fulton choked for a moment, his expression was a little embarrassed, his whole old face was flushed. That's right, do I need to talk to him when I come back? But thinking about it, this is his territory, which is more embarrassing. The current Gon 4 is younger than 10 years later, and his spirit is much better. He is a god who loves his people, that is, the ruler of Sky Island, but it is a pity that he met Enel. Old man, give up your status as a god. Sky Island is not something you can get your hands on. Enel persuades, with a serious face. You don't bully people too much. Gon 4 almost spat out a mouthful of old blood, stretched out his finger and pointed at Enel, his eyes were full of anger. Enel just drove them away last time, and was taken away by De before he could rule Sky Island. But he didn't expect that he would directly touch Sky Island this time. This is what Gon 4 is most angry about. Once Sky Island falls into the hands of such people, will there still be peace? Advertisement. If there is a disagreement, you will strike, and you will kill at every turn, then Sky Island will never have peace. And at this moment, before Enel could reply, Boa Hancock said 623 proudly. What's the matter with bullying you? It's your blessing that my Lord King has taken a fancy to your Sky Island. It can make your Sky Island extremely powerful. You still despise it. You are really ignorant bird people. That's right, that's right. Bess and Triss agreed with their cute little faces. When Gonfall heard this, he almost swung his decades-old unicorn arm. How bullying he is. Wait, King. Gonfall woke up suddenly, because Enel was not the only one who came here this time, there were others. For Enel, in the past 2 years, he also specifically checked. In Sky Island, it is rare to have no wings, collectively referred to as heterogeneous, and soon found a small Sky Island in Burka, but it has been destroyed. Yes, he went to check the scene himself, and it was blasted to the ground by lightning. That's why he felt fear when Enel came this time. Can a person who can destroy his hometown be a good god? Even if he becomes a ruler, he will be just a tyrant. For Enel's sudden disappearance, he thought it was the luck of Sky Island, but just 2 years after this luck, this terrible monster came back again. Advertisement.